Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Honor the Feminine podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Ledford, and today we have the amazing Lauri Cox with us, and I'm really excited. Lauri's extraordinary. So as you know, we start each episode with one of my travel images and stories from my travels, because when I was out traveling is where I really got in touch with my intuition again. In the day-to-day chaos and expectations of my world, she had gotten muffled. And so when I got out in the world, I started to hear her whispers again. And I know she was always there, but I really started to feel into her again. And that's where my journey started to open up. And today our image is called Temple Window. It was taken in Kalimpong, India. On the hill overlooking the small town of Kalimpong sits the Tibetan Buddhist monastery of Durpan Gopa. The flutter of the prayer flags fills the air with the desires of devotees. I love that sound. Each cloth flag contains prayers, and as the flags are being tattered by nature, those prayers are being heard, sent out into the world. The wear of the wind whipping past can be witnessed through the roughness around this temple window. Architecture, just like us, has its own life story, and the dilapidation tells the tale. And this is the image that reminds me of our guest today, Lauri Cox. Lauri, welcome to the show.
Oh, hello, sister. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. So share yourself with us. Tell us about you.
I'm a girl that loves to create. I consider myself a creatrix. I was a professional artist for many years. I reside in a beautiful state called Utah in the Salt Lake City area, a very diverse community of many light workers, of many women who are very powerful, who do great work in the world. And I'm influenced greatly by the paths of the women that I am in tribe with. And I grew up in after a move from another state, I grew up in a smaller town here in Utah and had an interesting journey, raised by a mother and a stepfather and with step siblings. And it really, I created a journey for myself that was pretty difficult. I chose a really tough path. And eventually landing here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where my biggest journey really began, where I met my love, who I spend my life with now. And together we raised 5 children, 2 of my own and 3 of his. And I have a studio that is a healing space, a creative space that has honored many, many women who have come into our space to learn and to grow and to create. And I create tribes. I create circles of women. That is my deepest passion. And I celebrate the spiritual essence of everyone's path and teach particularly women because that's my sweet spot. I love men, but my sweet spot is for the women, and particularly the women in my community, who are seeking expansion and deeper knowledge and healing, and understanding of their lineage and, understanding what how to create a path of soulful spiritual living, that aligns with their core beliefs, whether that be in a religious aspect, a spiritual aspect, whatever that may be. So that's what I do.
Can you talk to us a little bit? Because I love this idea of choosing your path and that we all really do that. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that shift of the before path to the sort of now path and the way in which that occurred for you?
Well, that's a deep and wide question. I grew up really in a very religious community, and I just kind of followed a path of what I was told. I didn't grow up in a religious family. However, I grew up in a religious community, and that is really where I found a place to be, that I was accepted and that I was loved, and my experience was a very positive experience. But I didn't have any understanding that there was any other idea or possibility. I had, like I said, I chose a really rough path. I was married right out of high school because I didn't understand that I had any other choice, like this idea of people moving away from home and moving out of countries and going on and exploring and stuff. I never comprehended that. The way we see people do that now, I've been blown away by that. So I didn't really understand that I was never taught that I had choice. And so I just kind of moved into I had a boyfriend, I got married, and went on to, very young, married at, 18 years old, and went on to, within about 5 years, realizing that there was this whole world out there. Not the best world for me to be in, but a whole different world that I hadn't explored before. And ended up having a child and a baby boy. And then a couple years later, marrying again and having a daughter. And then by the time I was 28, I was divorced again, and still not understanding. And it was a brutal divorce. It was spiritually devastating to me. And I always knew that I was different. I always knew that I thought different, and what that looked like, I can't really put a finger to it, but I just always felt different. Like I never quite fit into the mold, or that I was always trying to be something or someone that I wasn't. And it really wasn't until I was a single mama of 2 babies and trying to figure out who the hell I was and what I was going to do. I was always a really ambitious girl, and I knew that the path that could have been laid out for me was not one that I was going to choose. I was not going to be a mother that was going to live on welfare. I was not going to be a mother who was going to ever allow anybody to spiritually, I didn't even know what that meant. Okay. So I was never going to be a woman who was going to feel that broken again. And so I think that's where my journey lied. I was, a big follower of Oprah since, high school. And, I look back now, and a lot of the stuff that I was learning, I didn't even understand what any of that meant. I really had no concept of spirituality, or religion, or I didn't understand doctrine. I just knew that church was a place for me to belong, and what the teachings were really didn't matter to me. But it gave me kind of a foundation, a baseline. And as I started, in my 28th year of life, really just trying to figure out who I was, or what I was supposed to be doing, or, how I could live a life that felt good to me, and didn't feel broken to me. I think that's when things started to open up to me. And I moved. At that time was a very brave move. Moved an hour away from my hometown to the big city of Salt Lake City. And I remember people just going, "You'll never make it. You'll be back. You're too small town for this big city," and all that. And I was like, "Oh, hell no. I am going to, I am going to make it in this big city. I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them." And I moved. I got a really nice corporate job. And again, I was a very ambitious girl. I was, I knew for sure I was going to be a executive someday without a college education. And through the next several years, I actually did pretty well in the corporate world. without a degree or education. But backing up to, about age 30, I met my husband, who I am married to now for 15 years, and really started kind of dabbling on like what's out there, what is this stuff, what is this thing that's bigger than me. And I remember just starting to run across and remember, this is the day 15 years ago, before internet was huge, before, I'm still relatively, new in the generation of cell phones and texting and all that, and so the younger generation doesn't even understand, like, they've got this incredible wisdom at their fingertips. And I didn't have any of that. And so it was very difficult. I just kept searching and searching for people who thought like me. And I just remember having this knowledge and wisdom that felt normal to me, but not really knowing what to do with it. And through time, coming across things like The Secret and, listening more and more to Oprah and, getting more familiar with the internet, my world just started expanding. And I actually started working with a girl, who is one of my dearest soul sisters. She's been one of the most pivotal people in my life. We have just a few very pivotal people that come into your life that are like life shifters for you. And my friend, my coworker was one of those people who opened up my world to what if it was possible? What if it was possible from a spiritual level that these things happen to you for you? That was just a concept that's pretty mainstream now, but that was a concept. I was whoa,
Whoa, I think we think it's pretty mainstream because that reframe within the communities where you and I circle around.
Yeah.
It's sort of a foundational, but
that's true.
I don't know that it's as mainstream as we would like to believe.
I know that's, what? And you are right. And that's why I do the work I do now, because every time I think there's nobody else there, everybody knows this stuff. A load of other women come to my path, and I realize, and so that's a good reminder to me. But just hearing her talk, what if this experience with your ex-husband, what if on a spiritual level, and what if this was possible, and what would it look like? And this kind of stuff. And it just completely blew my mind up. And that's what launched me into this spiritual journey, of seeking what felt true for me.
Yeah. And
what felt true for me.
Yeah. And I think there's something so beautiful there, the seeking, the curiosity versus the victimhood that we can all fall into.
Oh, yes, sister. And I was a victim. Oh, boy, was I a victim. And when I realized that I was being an allower, I was allowing this behavior. And when I learned that people can't treat you the way you do not allow them to, I shifted a really devastating experience with the man that I, fathered my daughter. And not a positive experience, but I was able to shift away from that experience and create a new reality for myself of what was acceptable and what was not acceptable. And I got a voice, and I felt powerful. I felt powerful, and I felt unafraid to walk out my door because I was terrified. My husband, my beloved now, had his own spiritual path. He was raised very religiously. He did leave his church that his family loves, and it was a very negative experience for him. And he taught me this idea of something he learned when he was sharing his message of his church to the people in Japan. They call it missions. And he was there for 2 years, and he remembers the man coming up to him and saying to him, "So are you telling me that if there's a mountain over there, that there's only one path up there?" that there's so many paths to the top of the mountain, and we can all be choosers of that. And that was a comment that has always stuck with me, and why I honor so much the paths, as long as you are empowered in what you choose into, in your belief, your faith, your spiritual practice, your rituals, that is the perfect place for you in this moment right now. And that can change. And that can change, that you are not, it's not guaranteed that is going to always be your path, and that we can ebb and we can flow and we can expand and we can maneuver. And, sometimes we lose our footing and we go off on this path, and sometimes it takes us back, and sometimes it takes us somewhere else that's even more fantastic, and that we are divinely guided, and that we are all children of a God, a higher power, whatever that is for you. And even being comfortable with using the word God now, was
feel
huge
you there.
For me.
Yeah, I totally resonate with that.
Yeah, because I did
5 years ago, 10 years ago, I couldn't use God without having it have a connotation that didn't feel aligned with me. And I can use it now along with whatever,
God,
source,
goddess,
universe.
Yeah, exactly. And what it felt for me is that I would have to explain, well, I don't believe in this, so if I use the word, that I would have to explain, or that it would put me in a category that I was, or an identity, because I don't identify with any one path, with any one, lineage, with any, I love all, I consider myself, the practicer of earth medicine spirituality, earth-based spirituality. And, that as a woman in this day and time, that is my fullest connection. And wherever I take that, or whatever I call it, is absolutely perfect for me. And that is why I honor, the beliefs of all. As long as you feel empowered, then I can work with that. Yeah. I can go there with you. And I can also share with you other ideas and possibility, so that you can be open-minded as well, and think about that, without feeling that there needs to be judgment, or there needs to be separation, or there needs to be, we can't tribe together because you believe this and I believe that. Because at the end of the day, that just doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
I think, I think that's gorgeous, and really being open to, and that sort of brings me to, how do you honor the feminine and stay in touch with your intuition? Because I find that ebbs and flows for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That my spiritual practice has changed, so many times over the years, from, the power of positive thinking, and only allowing myself to say positive things, which is not really realistic, because I'm still human. And here's what I know is that when I honor my feelings, and I can allow myself to sit with that and honor it, then I can work to heal with it. How I honor the feminine is I honor myself first and foremost. Because what I want for myself, I want for others. Whether it's, whatever that is. So everything that I create is always, I wish that I could share this with somebody else too, because I want this. I want women and people, human, male, female, to tap into their creativity, because we all have that creativity in us. We just express it differently. So I particularly love people who go, I'm not creative. I'm not an artist. And I look at them and I'm like, they're fully decked out in this glitter and gorgeousness. I'm like, you just express it differently. And that's what is so beautiful about the human experience, is that we all get to express differently. And I honor the feminine by creating communities. I'm a tribe maker. And again, what I want for myself, I want for others. When I see that there is something that I need, desire, and I don't find it, I create it. I just put it out there in the world. And I feel that I'm just kind of a portal for spirit to work through. And when I feel inspired action, I act on it. When I am inspired, I am in spirit. And so if I feel inspired by something, if it's something that I feel that I need, then I know that there's somebody out there that needs it too. And that I got to be the channel to hopefully bring that to light, or to inspire that and ignite somebody else to bring that forward as well. And I honor the feminine by, again, my own personal self-care so that I can be an example. And, I'm not a perfect example every day, but
I mean, really, who is?
By no means. And you know what? But here's the thing is that seek for perfectionism, because I am, a former perfectionist, or somebody I remember there was a day for many, many years of my life that I thought that if I was perfect, then people would love me. Oh. If I was perfect, there wouldn't be conflict in my life. If I was perfect, I wouldn't be getting in trouble at home. And so I aspired at a very early age. Today I'm going to be perfect. And so my image, the way my hair was, the way I dressed, the way I did, I had things just so pristinely laid out, and it was so constricting. And now I'm an advocate for, through creativity is where I get to express in a very unperfect way. And understanding that perfectionism was a way of me shaming myself for who I am. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel bad for who I am. But I believe this seek for perfectionism, or for, seeking love and validation from others, is causing a huge amount of depression and oppression and repression with the women in our world. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because I want so much for others to understand that they are part of this woven tapestry, and that we're here together, and that we are here for community, and that's just our natural instinct. And I create tribes, and I call it tribes, but it's women's circles, because that's the natural foundation for us. We grew up, our lineage thousands of years ago, we circled together. We women did everything together. We birthed our babies together. We had our moon cycles together. We sowed the seeds of our crops together. We created meals together. We communed together. That is our normal foundation. And through time, there's been this huge separation of the feminine leadership and the feminine community. And now women are scared of each other, and women are attacking each other, and they're bullying each other, and they're judging each other. And that's heartbreaking to me. And I will not be a part of that. That's not what I stand for.
I see it shifting, though, because that's also, that's where the podcast was birthed out of, that idea that women are catty and mean and that we don't support each other. And that had been my experience in the world and the story that I held on to. So then when it got prickly, I went, oh, yep, there it is. Knew it. I knew that was the case. Now it's a whole different conversation. It's a reframe that we're talking about. Yeah. It's not that things don't get prickly. It's that I know through sisterhood that there's many women I can trust, that there's a whole community that we hold each other. And within that, there are times when it gets prickly. Yeah. But instead of being, yep, see, there it is, more proof, I go, oh, hey, wait a minute. Curiosity. Mm-hmm. What just happened there? Yeah. What's going on with me? What's going on with her? Right. How did this get created? Does it need to be cleared? How can we clear it? Whatever those things are. But it's not just, throw it in the pot with the old story is the biggest awareness around it for me. And so I totally feel that from you. And the other big thing was when I stopped spending so much time trying to make everyone think that I was a certain way in that perfection, when I started to be like, yeah, it gets messy, and here's how it gets messy, I had a lot more energy to put into things that I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was using a lot of energy to make it look a certain way and show up in this way that I thought everyone else wanted me to be.
Oh, amen, sister. And the thing is, and that's why I know that what I'm doing is so important because I love to bring women together to show them that we can commune together. Because when women talk about their fear of women, their fear of all of this, that is not my experience anymore. That is not a part of who I call into my space. And I understand that because I have been that and I have experienced that, but it's not my current experience now. Every once in a while, of course, I have somebody who is going to show up because I need that, because I need to, I get to be reminded. But sometimes the prickly stuff that comes up, it's not because you're a woman and I'm a woman. It's because it's prickly.
And we're human.
It's just because it's prickly,
Yeah.
and we women are very diverse. My husband calls me an ever-evolving enigma.
I love that.
Yeah, he celebrates my, who I am and what I do to the fullest extent. And I think that we're all ever evolving enigmas. We're not meant to be fully understood. We're not meant to be the same. We are meant to to bring to the table, to bring to the circle our own ideas, what works for us, what feels good for us, what hurts us, what inspires us. And where we receive our creative inspiration, where we choose to spend our time and experiences and our money and our love and all of those things. And so through Circle, again, what I want for myself, I want for others. And so I created circles and tribes I wish so much I would have had this wisdom back when I was 25, 26, 20, 28, 30 years old. I sought out stuff like this. I remember getting newspapers and looking in the classified ads for like groups. I always wanted to create like Sunday brunches, and I always wanted to create like little clubs. Okay.
Uh-huh.
You remember creating clubs. I was one of those girls. I always wanted clubs where we could talk about, we could make, muffins, and we could talk about girl things and play with each other's hair and, that kind of stuff. And so what did I do? I moved to this new community. With my husband, we bought a house. We moved on the other side, on the west side versus the east side. So a whole nother culture, really, even though we're in the same, metropolitan area, very different community. And I remember my friend that I worked with, who was one of the pivotal people in my life, talking about these groups that she would go to. And I remember going, I want that. Like everybody would put a question into the bowl, and then they'd pass the bowl around, and everybody would pick out a question and they'd answer it, and it would evoke this conversation. I'm like, oh, I want that so much. So what I did is I started creating Sunday brunch. To this day, we have this group that's the Sunday brunch. We don't meet as often as we used to. For about 2 years, we met once a month, every single month. And it got up to sometimes 30, 40 women.
Oh, I love it.
And so that was my first experience at really creating a tribe,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't even know what that meant. And so, a lot of work, a lot of inspiration, a lot of insight has just opened up to me because I'm an open vessel. I'm a truth seeker. I'm a pathfinder, and inspiration and information and the perfect people and the articles and the classes and all of those things, because I choose to invest my money in experiences and my time in experiences and learning, because I just am a wisdom seeker and always wanting to feel like I'm learning or expanding in some way. And so I'm this open portal, and things just come to me, and inspiration and knowledge. And it just like, this feels good to me. This is like, I know this. This is like, I knew this hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, you know, remembering versus learning.
I remember. Oh my goodness. And one of my things I say to myself when I can't remember is, I may not be able to remember this now, but something inside me does. So to help me to kind of invoke some of my memories and some of the wisdom that I have. And so I can share that because I love to share information. I love to see somebody light up and go, oh my God, with a concept that I've used for years, like you said earlier, like it's not new, it's new knowledge to still many people, but for me, it's kind of like mainstream. It's like my language. It's like what I do. It just doesn't occur to me that it's different. Right. And to be able to share something with another person that lights them up and just changes their life, a new way of thinking and reframing. I've studied deeply the power, what emotions are and how this relates to this and this and this. And so I have a great understanding. I'm able to move through things a lot quicker than maybe a lot of people. This desire to understand my emotions. Why am I feeling the way I feel? And what does this come from? What does this mean? Is this mine? Am I feeling something else of someone else's? We're in this collective experience right now where there's a lot of collective pain that's happening, and I'm feeling it, and I'm working and I'm processing it, and I'm working to hold the space for it, not to carry it, but to hold space for it. And
that's a big difference, carrying versus holding space.
Yes.
And I'm learning that also.
Yeah. And I feel like I have, I understand this enough that I do know how to hold space now versus carrying it. But sometimes things are just dropped on your shoulders and they knock you on your ass and you're like, whoa, what just happened here? And you have to do the work, and the work comes. The reason why we have these experiences is because we're not meant to have perfect lives. We're not meant to never struggle. We are meant to work through things. We are meant to have experiences, good and bad, the polar opposite. Yeah. Everything has a polar opposite. And the juicy part of that is that we have this power to choose. We may not be able to choose exactly what lands on our shoulder or blindsides us, but we can choose how we move through it. Mm-hmm. We can choose how we move through it. And that is honoring me, my lineage, my family, my mother, my daughter, and the women in my community and around the world and generations to come. If I can do my work now, I'm benefiting, everybody in such a bigger way. Yeah. And so although I'm honoring myself in that, I'm also honoring the women who have walked before me, that paved this way, that gave me the opportunity to be a free woman with the ability to speak what I want to speak without repercussion. I may lose a few friends, and I have, and I bless them, and I still continue to speak what resonates with me in a very graceful, respectful way, because I am very careful about, I want to make people feel good and empowered. But yet I want to be able to share what feels true to me as well. Yeah. And so, my intuition comes from that open vessel with me. I'm tapped in. I feel like, through the years, through conscious creation is what I call it, that I feel like I'm a conscious creator of my life.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And that's what I hope to leave every woman with, is that the ability to consciously create. Like, does this feel light? Does this feel heavy? If it feels heavy, what feels heavy about it? Are there things that you can do to lighten that decision up or that path up? Or is this light way? Is this the easy way? Sometimes the easy way is okay, but sometimes the harder way is there's going to be more wisdom in that path.
Yeah,
but
and
really,
all of that's around discernment, right?
Oh,
and as you practice, you get more discerning, and you practice and you get more discerning.
Yeah. Yeah. Using the power of discernment is so important. And your discernment is going to be different from another's. And your
but
yes
that's how
is
we
going to
feel
be
empowered.
different.
It feels like that's how I feel empowered, is in that discerning of.
Yes. Yes. And I feel as if when I wake up that I'm connected. I mean, it doesn't occur to me that I'm not connected to something greater than myself. It doesn't occur to me anymore that I'm completely alone, that my earth angels are not with me, that my grandmother's not with me, that my ancestors, my angels, whoever that is, I never feel that they're not accessible. It doesn't occur to me anymore. And that's what I assume. And so that is my belief. It must be true because that's my experience.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm constantly receiving this knowledge, this wisdom, this inspiration. And like I said, when I'm inspired, I'm in spirit. That's the definition of inspired. And when I can be in spirit, and the times when I'm not, I deeply feel the contrast. And I know that I can sit there again and not overlook it or not ignore it because I'm afraid of it, but that I can sit with it and ask it, come sit on my lap and tell me what you have to say to me, little girl, little spirit that wants to speak. And when I see people raging, I understand that's their little child and them just wanting to have a voice. And I feel like I've empowered myself in that way to have my voice and to be able to do it in a way that feels in alignment with me and how I want to project into the world. I want to be light. I always want to be light. Doesn't mean I always am expressing light, but I am always light. I am always light. Light, love is the highest vibration that a person can possibly emit. We are born light. That's what we are.
Oh, on that note, so gorgeous.
Thank you.
My love, are you ready for the random questions?
Yes. Give it to me.
If you could sit down with a woman, alive or dead, for a chat and tea, who would it be?
Just one woman?
I mean, we don't have rigid rules around here. If a couple came to mind, that's okay with us.
Well, I will tell you, I would love to sit down with Shirley MacLaine. I would love to sit in space with Esther Hicks. And I would love to reap the wisdom of and be at a table. No, not at a table, in circle with Oprah and Elizabeth Gilbert at the same time.
I love it because I'm like, okay, people, if you're listening and you're in Salt Lake City, go see Lauri. She'll have you for tea.
Oh, girl. And, and what I love about all of these women is because for me, they exude strength. Each one of them is courageous to walk against the grain and speak and say the truth for them. They have been open vessels for many, many women to come alive and to step into the truth of themselves. I love Shirley MacLaine because she is a straight shooter. If that is what I could be, whippersnapper. And
the interesting thing about her is that she's the one that I think first, she wrote a book, maybe late 70s, early 80s, on past lives. And, back then, this was not, nobody was talking about that. And so that brought that idea through my mom into our home.
Really?
About spirit really going on and really this past life idea. And that resonated with me the way it resonated with my mom.
Yeah. Yeah. That did not come to me until much later in my life. This idea, like I had to really wrestle because I had to separate, like in my journey, I had to separate like, okay, what was given to me as information and beliefs, because, our beliefs are given to us. And so I had to really use my discernment to go, okay, what is this? Is this mine? Is this my belief? Is this, and then really wrestle with the idea of past lives. But regardless of whether you believe it or not, what if it was possible? Just delve into possibility doesn't require you to believe in it.
Right.
Possibility only asks you to entertain the idea of possibility. What if it was true? Okay.
And curiosity in that,
and
right?
Curiosity, yes. And so what I love about Shirley MacLaine is because revolutionary, get out there, girl, and say something that is so controversial. And then as a woman, I don't even know how old is she is, 80 years old, and spry and speaks her truth. And so I would love to have a conversation, and I would just like gasp up all the wisdom that I possibly could from this woman, and allow her light to like beam inside me. I just, like kick ass. Esther Hicks, Abraham, again, a pivotal person in my life. Some of the greatest spiritual teachers, hands down to me. I've learned so much, and so much of what are my core beliefs and my core ideas have come through the teachings of Abraham. And if you don't know who Esther Hicks is and Abraham is, Esther Hicks channels a group of non-physical beings. These are beings that have never embodied before. And collectively, they channel through Esther Hicks, and they call themselves, call themselves Abraham, just to give a name to them. And I love, Esther so much for allowing her body to be the channel of things like, if in doubt, when I just need to know the truth about myself, I can find a YouTube or an audio or go to one of my books, and I'm reminded the truth of who I really am. I'm like, okay, yeah, now I understand. Now I remember who I am. And so that's been a tremendous comfort to me, so those are two main people I would love to sit with. Again, Oprah, Elizabeth Gilbert. How fun would that be?
Oh God.
How
you
fun.
You wouldn't stop laughing, I feel like.
I wouldn't stop laughing. I wouldn't stop crying. I wouldn't stop, I would ask questions. I would just sit there and say, one of the things I love to ask people, it drives my family crazy because I love to ask questions. And I do that because I want to show people that I care about them. And what I've learned, particularly with women, is that we all want to be heard and we all want to be seen.
Yeah. Truly heard and truly seen.
Heard. And by asking the question, tell me your story, you will open up. Everybody has a story.
Yeah. Share yourself with us. Tell us about you.
Tell me who you are. Yeah. And the next thing you know, the most closed off people, when you invite them and give them a space that feels sacred and feels safe for them to share their story without judgment or without feeling questioned for what they believe or experienced or what they chose or what they are choosing now, you invoke beautiful conversations. And so I would just marvel in that, because Oprah has so much shared her story. Elizabeth has so much shared her story as well. And I love to share stories because with me, stories are so important, because it doesn't necessarily define me, but it really helped create the path. Like everything, I can't tell you how grateful I am for my ex-husband, for what I experienced from him, because he was a catalyst, another pivotal person in my life. Who I am today and what I do today is he has a huge part in that, huge part. And I'm deeply compassionate for women who have gone through those kind of experiences because of that. Yeah. And I can relate, but I'm removed from that. Like, that's not my experience anymore, but I can still remember. And I had that experience because it was a catapult for me to launch me into wanting something bigger for myself, wanting to leave where I live, to move somewhere else, to create a new experience, to bring new people into my life that were going to be positive and more, that I felt like more like me. Yeah. And I found my people because I asked I have, one of my sayings is your tribe is waiting for you. You just have to show up. Like,
showing up is so much, people.
Showing up. Yeah. And when women say, cause I've done several global tribes in the past. I can't tell you how many times I've heard women say, there's nobody like me in my community. There's just nobody here. And I'm like, that's rubbish. That's rubbish. There is somebody sitting in their living room wanting
thinking
the same thing as you. Sweetheart, your tribe is out there. You get to call them into your space.
But for me, that feels like the fear around showing up and sharing ourselves. And I think because
it's scary. And I admire so much the courage it takes. It's interesting because like I said, in my past, I was a professional artist. And then for many years, I've taught creative workshops. And when I started teaching, I thought I was creating girls' night out kind of thing. Like that I was just going to have several women that are going to show up to my class together, and they were just going to, have like a good time, and they were going to leave. And it was really interesting is that most of the women to this day rarely bring a friend with them to my classes. And what I have observed is because that is part of their spiritual journey, and it's sacred and it's private to them. And it's more than just a girl's night out. And I didn't understand that for many years. I didn't understand the art that I was creating had a spiritual connotation. I had no idea why women were coming into my booths at the art shows and crying over my artwork or the sayings that I put on them. I had no idea. I was that out of touch with what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I was being channeled, but I was not understanding like what was going on. And then I start teaching these classes, and women are not showing up in groups. They're showing up on their own. And it was a very spiritual experience. And I was really curious about that. And now I understand it. I totally understand it. And so I don't necessarily expect that women are going to come and sometimes they bring their friends, but for the most part, it's a very sacred experience. And a lot of them are going outside the confines of something that might look a little bit edgy.
Yeah, they're on their edge.
They're on their edge, and they've got their kind of their foot on the other side. Mm-hmm. And
we're all there in some parts of our lives.
We are, but we're not necessarily going to share it with everybody. Like, yeah, I'm going to Lauri Cox's class tonight.
Right.
Because people might be going like, what is she doing? Not that I'm doing anything that it doesn't feel edgy to me.
Right. But we all have our edges.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So my love, where would you most like to travel? That's our second random question.
Where would I most like to travel? I dream of places that are not for tourists. Mm-hmm. I dream of countrysides, wherever this may be, whether it's in England or Ireland or Switzerland or Denmark or whatever. I'm going to Guatemala in January, as my own little pilgrimage and whatever that's going to look like, with a couple of friends. But, as far as like where I would want to go, I would want to go to the places where I can tune deeper into myself, where I can be quiet inside myself, where I can feel the sacredness of that place, where there's not many people, because that would not be vacation for me, having too many people. And because as an artist, I'm very visual, and things that make me feel and things that are that bring pleasure to my eyes and to my senses are where I need to go. So the United States itself has so many places, but we don't have the history as so many other countries because we are a country created out of immigration. And so I love tradition, and I would like to go back to the old ways. And, I would like to experience some of the ceremonies in Ireland. I would love to experience, the dances and the seasons changing, in Peru. I would love to, so many places.
Yeah.
No,
I love
everywhere.
I love that it's a feeling versus a geographic place.
Exactly. It's all about feeling. How am I going to feel about this? And what senses are going to be ignited for me. And that could be in my own state. It could be in my own country or out of the country. And I'm open to the possibility of where the winds take me.
I love that. So how do we reach out and connect with you?
Well, I love Facebook. That's really the social media that's my jam. And so I'm there. I'm active. My name it's Lauri Cox, Lauricox. And so I have a profile. I have a page. I invite people to friend me. I seek, friendships that are going to enlighten me, and people who are also desire to be enlivened and enlightened by me. My website is lauricox.me, Lauricox.me. And you're welcome to join my tribe and subscribe. I have so many things. I have art courses, e-courses out there. So even if you're not in my local tribe area, I have many offerings that I do.
Yeah, and I don't know if the manifesto offering is up there, but the manifesto offering is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And we will put all of that on the show notes for this episode at honorthefeminine.com. So you can go over and get to Lauri really easily.
Yes. Thank you.
My love. Thank you for today.
Yeah. I needed this.
It was really fun.
Yes. Thank you. It's been an honor to honor the feminine with you. Thank you for the work you do in the world.
Thank you.
Means a lot.
Hello again, everyone. It was wonderful to be with Lauri today. She's so deeply committed to sisterhood and the beauty that Circle creates in the world. And I love watching what Lauri creates unfold. It always just warms my heart. If you would like to connect with Lauri, you can go over to the show notes at honorthefeminine.com and get easily connected with her there. I also invite you to deepen into sisterhood with me and all our sisters in our sacred space at Honor the Feminine Daily on Facebook. It's such a great space to feel into how you do honor the feminine each day and the ebbs and flows of that. We have just been cultivating connection in that sacred space, and the connections that have been created, gosh, I love it so much. It's been so beautiful. Also, if you loved this podcast, please share it with a friend. It's how I get turned on to all the new podcasts that I listen to, is through recommendations from the sisters in my life. All right. Have a beautiful day.